on January 6th was a violent attempt to overthrow a duly elected government. Full stop. The spectacle of the day, and that was the most obvious part of a much bigger movement. There are efforts to undermine our democracy taking place all across our country in our hometowns. 19 state legislatures have passed 33 laws to make it harder to vote. State attorney generals like Ken Paxton in Texas, the same guy who tried to overturn Joe Biden's election in court, said he not only still believes Trump won, but that Biden's presidency is the result of an overthrow. Trump's big lie was just the latest moment in a decades-long effort to keep power by any means necessary. In his newest book, Laboratories of Autocracy, David Pepper reveals how Republicans have successfully weakened local governments through 20 years of extreme partisanship, gerrymandering, and gaming the system. Joining me now is the former chairman of the Ohio Democratic Party and author of the book, David Pepper. David, I want to start with some new reporting by ProPublica, revealing that 40 state and local government officials were on the roster of Oath Keepers. And this includes state legislatures, county commissioners, party leaders, congressional candidates, all of them Republican. What are we to make of this brazen embrace by the Republican Party of those who will become domestic terrorists?
Yeah, it's disturbing to say the least, and it's what my book tries to talk about. But what's especially scary for me, and if you really are paying attention, is the biggest danger those legislators pose is not even. It's scary they're part of Oath Keepers, and it's scary that some of them were at January 6th. But most scary is that they're state representatives, because state representatives actually set the rules of elections in their own states. They draw the district lines for the next decade in most cases. And so I'm trying to, raise the awareness or raise the alarm that back in these state houses is where they present the greatest danger. The fact that they overlap with these very far right groups, with insurrectionist groups, and even if they don't, the fact that so many of them, like the Attorney General of Texas, are so willing to embrace, rejecting democratic, results is really worrisome, and it calls on all of us, from federal officials through everyday citizens paying attention in their state house, to really get engaged quickly, because there's not a lot of time left to stop what's happening.
There's so many people on the Democratic side or left side of the aisle who thinks that, if you just come up against the rules will work, right? They'll be taken care of. But I think of the Black American experience, in which it's like, okay, driving a car in the Deep South during the Jim Crow, surrounded by the KKK, and like, oh, why don't you tell the police? And well, the chief of police is in there. That to me seems like the closest analogy to the fact that the people now running elections, making the rules about who gets represented, are the ones who are trying to overthrow democracy.
Yeah, in many cases, like right now in Ohio, for example, the citizens twice, with 70% of the vote, voted to change the Constitution to prevent extreme partisan gerrymandering. The current legislature is literally just ignoring not just the law, but the Constitution of the state of Ohio, in still trying to re-gerrymander. And the reason I call the book Laboratories of Autocracy is because they've been testing and experimenting for a decade. And one of the things they've learned through what they've done is, even when they break the rules, there's never accountability. Even when they violate the Constitution, even when a court strikes them down, because of the rigged nature of all this, they stay in office and they never pay a price. And until we start to, through politics and through federal enforcement and through other mechanisms, exert real accountability when they're actually breaking the law or violating tenets of democracy, they're just going to keep going. And I try and lay out ways we can do that in the book. But it really is a case where we are, in some states, bordering on just outright lawlessness, and lawlessness with the aim of just continuing to stay in power and tightening their grip on power. It's a scary time because of it.
Well, that's the challenge, and we've seen this in many countries overseas, that the road to fascism starts with democracies, but it ends up being a democracy only on paper, where the accountability for the rules doesn't exist. So how do you do accountability when ultimately the trust in the system is what is broken?
Yeah, I mean, right now it starts with as quickly as they can. It's already taken too long getting every measure of protection for voting rights and ending gerrymandering through the federal government. I mean, the founders set up a system where they assumed that they basically they gave states a lot of power, but under the assumption that states would be functioning democracies. And in the case where that doesn't happen, they basically said the federal government needs to guarantee that states are democracies. So there's no time to waste. There's no filibuster obstacle to Congress doing its job and ensuring we have democracies in every state of the union, be it a Republican-leaning state or a Democratic state. But then everything we do in politics has to be around a pro-democracy movement. You know, one of the things we need to shift in our mind is when we see another government like Hungary falling towards autocracy, we actually call it out for that. But here in America, we sort of don't, we're gun shy about saying when you attack protesters, when you
I think we've lost David's audio. David, thank you so much for joining us tonight. To close off the thought that David was getting at, which is ultimately that the U.S. democracy is at stake. And it's not just a matter of one presidential cycle every 4 years. It's every election. It is every day that a school board gets undermined, that election officials get threatened, and every day that state legislatures are allowed to pass rules and pass laws that disenfranchise black and brown voters. So we will stay on this topic and discuss how all of what's going on at the state level can be fixed by the federal government or can be fixed by activism of people like you.